Well, is he blue? Is he red? What do you think, Mike? His skin is blue. His outfit's red. Haha.
Oh, stop it, John. He's not red.
But
Every
his
time.
outfit's red. His horn, his mask, it's red.
Oh, goodness.
Majority red.
So they pick up the Crimstroke now. Great kind of combination there with the Dragon Knight, because you do have the Blink Stun into the Inkswell as well. Quite impactful. Of course, apparently Q is going to get back his Mirana, so perhaps the shout out from the chat did work out for him. So he does want to go back down that route. I mean, you do have the X to set up for the arrow already, so there is some value in that Mirana pick straight off the bat. T1, how are they going to respond? Yeah, this game, they have to win it to proceed through the Lupe Pro Series. Motivate obviously have to do the exact same thing. They didn't get rid of that Mars, by the way, but I think in particular the Mars pickup was just exceptionally good against the Terrorblade. And for now, they're not going to reveal Savage's hero. They're going to go for the Tusk.
Yep, keeping their big win condition to last. Again, they have last pick here in T1, so they can kind of pocket what they want on Savage. Motivate.Trust gonna have to figure out what they want. They have their two supports on hand. Probably just gonna look for the Masaru's hero. I still feel like Mars is still pretty good against Lina. You're already taking off Lina scaling and right-click damage, so you can just block off her Daedalus hits quite nicely. They go with the Gyrocopter first, so they're tying into this big AoE that they have under already with a Kunkka out, with a boat Torrent. Gyrocopter with a flak is going to be able to get some good damage. Call downs there as well. Rocket Barrage. In lane, it is pretty decent. It can be aggressive if you want to build that way. We keep theory crafting about the stat buildup. We haven't seen that yet. And we'll have to see how Motivate.Trust wants to have Toy play with that on the pause one. So even if things get dicey, Gyrocopter can flash farm quick as long as you have some points in the flak cannon. And you can still build up from there. I like that T1 did ban out the Sand King just to prevent the arrow combinations from coming true. So you're not going to get that big impact on the offlane with Sand King, Burst Strike, Arrow. We'll see what else they want. It looks like T1 is respecting the fact that Motivate.Trust can still run the offlane Kunkka and give Fearless something else mid. They did take out the TA, so no TA in this game either.
Absolutely not. Thank goodness for that, by the way. I mean, game 3 in this lower bracket elimination series, no need for that TA to pop up. Motivate, they're going to go for the offlane Night Stalker. A very kind of aggressive draft here from Motivate.Trust. These kind of drafts, though, they either do really well or they tend to fall flat. So I'm quite intrigued to see how they do manage to pull it off. I feel like the last time we saw Motivate.Trust try to run this offlane Night Stalker, it did not work out. I could be wrong. That's what I'm remembering now. T1, they need a pause 1 for Mr. Savage. Anything that catches your eye, John? Luna's still there, surprisingly. No, it's not. Never mind. It was banned out.
Savage heroes. Raid King is the only one that I'm seeing left for Savage that he loves to play. So maybe they go back to Raid King. I don't think you have anything to be scared of. You don't need to feel pressured to get the shard, as no one's going to drain your mana unless Gyrocopter goes to Fusel, which again has happened. To the great surprise of many, it actually worked. But I don't think it's something you'd naturally rush from the Gyrocopter anyway, and not really necessary against Raid King. So they could go back into that. Spectre is an option here as well. If you just want to drag it towards the late game with the Gyrocopter versus Spectre matchup, could be one way to get about that. Those are the only real options I see left. Maybe if you want to go for stable course, Juggernaut's still on the pool. Life Stealer's there as well, though. Doesn't feel like there's a big reason for the Life Stealer as well. I think the Jug might be a better fit, just because the damage output's pretty good, can match up against the Gyrocopter farming pace quite nicely, and it has that same power scaling as the Gyrocopter. Early levels versus Jug, you have a lot of aggression with Spin. You can play with Tusk Jug lane, Spin Shards, Tag Team on top. Can be pretty devastating on the off lane.
That it could be. T1, they have 42 seconds to continue thinking about this. And you could go back to the Spectre that we did see in game 1. I mean, that did work out, but that was with a Magnus. And no, they're going to go down the Monkey King route. Something very, very unusual in this current meta. Monkey King pops out. That's a position 1 Monkey King on 23 Savage. I mean, it has a good laning matchup, right? You're against the Night Stalker. You're able to get those Jingu Mastery procs quite easily, especially during that initial daytime. But the hero itself, John, hasn't felt amazing as of late. Then again, neither is Gyrocopter. So I'm not sure if that matters too much. But do you have faith that this Monkey King is going to work this game for T1?
They have the lineup to make it work. Like, they've got the Lina that they can shift their win condition towards if the Monkey King doesn't pan out. I think Monkey is much more underwhelming than the Gyrocopter right now, simply because he feels weird. Like, Battle Fury is not a thing anymore, so people don't get that farming build. Maelstrom is okay. Echo Saber's all right. You don't have the Ag Spike with the monkeys coming out anymore. It doesn't feel as useful. So it just kind of falls flat in terms of item timings in comparison. At the very least here for Motivate.Trust, there is earlier presence with the Gyro. In terms of draft, I would actually lean slightly towards Motivate.Trust. Gyrocopter is just a really strong core from lane and onwards for T1. And the Monkey King has a lot to do. Savage really has to pull his weight there, get his farm going, and kind of ride it out for his team. If not, Carl has to be ready to shift into that right-click role, go for the Daedalus build on Lina. They can kind of get that done, but I think the win conditions for Motivate.Trust line up a little bit easier here.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So, see how it does pan out. Game number 3, of course, we are going to head into that game number 3 right now. We'll bring up some loot bet odds right off the bat, see what's going on there. Looks like it is still going to be favoriting T1. Very similar odds to the last game. I mean, both games have been rather close between these two, so it's kind of hard to know exactly who has the advantage. But most people are still giving the advantage over to the TI qualifying team, that is T1. I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, it's a fair point to make. I think you have to remember, though, Motivate.Trust are the defending champions of the last Loot Bet Pro Series.
True.
So I'm sure they've got something to prove, right? They want to ride all the way towards the grand finals, get their matchup again, win that trophy once more, and kind of be the champs once more. Like, they, again, on the Southeast Asian BTS tournaments, Motivate.Trust did win like 2 out of them, 2 out of the last 4, right? If I recall right. Summit 13, Loot Bet Pro Series 4. And yeah, you just want to keep that streak up. They won 6, 5 was only NA. So yeah, you got to keep that up for Motivate.Trust. Get motivated up there.
Oh, that's terrible. I've heard that one so many. That's just terrible. That is a terrible joke, Jonathan.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's the goal.
You're ready to be a dad, huh? Good to see.
No, not anytime soon, Mike.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
So much.
Gotta say, Toy's performance has been on point, right? Like, he's standing in for Jack. He's on loan from #esports, and he has been delivering great performance. Sure, game 1, maybe the Wraith King didn't look good. I think that was down to the hero he had to play up against that lineup of T1, but his Medusa just held on, was always in the right spot, was protected by Masteros, was farming really well. And I think it's an impressive showing from Toy so far. We'll have to see if he can carry through that performance in the last game. The most important game of the series. That will determine who does go home early here in the Loot Bet Pro Series 7.
No, I do agree. I think Toy's done a great job so far. I mean, the game 1, yeah, I mean, you could probably just write that one off. The Wraith King just didn't do too well, but Medusa was certainly much better. You've also got to kind of appreciate the fact that he is playing POS 1 with 2 cores that are playing a little bit greedier, right? It does feel like Masteros and Fearless are both taking more farm priority than they usually would in the 2 games we've seen. So it's kind of, it's quite acceptable that his farm isn't quite as fast as we're used to seeing on these position 1s, because again, he's got to share it with the team. And we've seen multiple times they've kind of just left him behind in the middle of a team fight and saved themselves. So it's one of those things where it does feel like they've altered their playstyle to be able to make it through today and proceed through to the lower bracket. And we are 1-1, so one could argue it has worked out for Motivate thus far. And this draft does feel a little bit more challenging to run from Motivate.Trust, if I'm perfectly honest. I'd say T1 does have the much easier to execute kind of draft going for themselves, but I suppose it could go either way. It's hard to tell until we see how these players do during the laning stage.
Yeah, I think the one thing you have to remember is Kunkka's utility towards late game is ridiculous. Right, the Tidal Wave, the Torrent Storm, BKBs will eventually fade down to 6 seconds, and you just use those spells. You have a lot of ways of kiting around that Monkey King, and I think that's going to be the big difference. Gyrocopter can just stand in the middle, get his hits off. Not much control coming out from T1 outside of LSA and Dragon Tail stun. And in the middle of a team fight, it can be kind of hard to target down the gyro. So we'll see if they'll be able to do that. Do you see the lane split up? Masaro's taking that off lane with Night Stalker. Of course, he's got Q around on the Murano once more. They're laning up against Savage on the Monkey King. Currently a nice little red baby Roshan. And of course, he's going to have the support of our Grimstroke Whitemon on hand. So a pretty nice dual lane to play with. You can be aggressive once the tree jumps there. The Primal Spring's ready. You can play Inkswell, jump in, try to look for the kills, but you have to be cautious, especially once it goes towards nighttime. The Night Stalker will have a bit more presence with 2 levels in the Hunter of the Night. Can be hard to zone out.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They have got Whitemon there. We probably will have the Inkswell, though. So we'll see if Masaros does intend on getting aggressive. Already, it looks like it's going to be a pretty challenging lane as Savage gets a very easy Jingu mastery going for himself on this Monkey King. Still over in the mid lane, Carl is going to be there on that mid laner against Fearless on the Kunkka. I mean, the laner's always going to have the advantage no matter what. But Fearless, he can start to abuse the Tidebringer, especially at that level 3 mark. When you do have the level 2 Tidebringer, it can really start to hurt quite a bit. But even then, I'd still say Carl should have a pretty decent advantage on this mid laner.
I mean, he's already pretty much 4 creeps up in terms of CS, getting good harassment out. Got the level advantage as well, so everything you could ask for from a mid laner is just coming out here for Carl. And Fearless is going to have to be a bit more cautious, still has the salve to play with, and should still just focus on farm, but you have to really watch for the LSA. Every single time Carl gets it off, he has pretty much fully stacked up his Fiery Soul, so he can just run you down. He has great range, and Fearless might have to take this a bit more passively. He can recover in the jungle. The Kunkka does get that done fairly easily once you have level 3 Tidebringer. So you shouldn't worry too much and overextend yourself in lane.
Oh, nice rotation here from Zephyr. Going to secure that bottom water rune. Wants to try and go for the kill attempt as well, but that Light Strike Ray did not land. Otherwise, we may have seen first blood in the mid lane. Though I say that, Zephyr doesn't have the tag team anyway. So it would have still been quite a challenging kill to go for, but nevertheless, we are now down at the bot lane where you've got Cuckoo and Zephyr against Set Zero, and of course Toy on that Pos 1 Gyrocopter. This lane, I'd say it's still easier than what Motivate.Trust has in their off lane. Like DK Tusk, probably not going to die. Yeah, Toy, he should still be able to farm quite nicely on this Gyrocopter, and that's exactly what he's doing. But Cuckoo and this Tusk Zephyr, they should just be perfectly fine. I can't imagine anyone really dying in this bot lane.
Yeah, it's not really the aggressive lane for Motivate.Trust. So Toy, with its kind of lane, can afford to just focus on Flat Cannon, focus on the farming aspect rather than the early laning damage, and he does go for level 2 Flak. So just a stable farming lane, so far looking good for Toy. Cuckoo can't really zone him out, and in that scenario, you're pretty happy here for Motivate.Trust. You are having a smooth ramp up. Not as good as Savage's, considering that he is aggressive and farming, but overall, Gyrocopter might be able to clear that jungle out a little bit faster.
Oh, you'd say so. 100%. Masaros. We run into Whitemon now. 25 seconds away from that first night. Level 1 Hunter in the night, though. He's definitely not going to want to get aggressive. Especially by himself. He'll just want to try and secure as much farm as he possibly can while he has that bonus speed. Still, Inkswell is going to be out. Zephyr is there with the tag team. Masaros, he's going to be forced to TP. And you kind of hope and pray that Zephyr doesn't have the level 1 snowball. But he did opt to go for the shard, so they won't have a way to cancel. And Masaros will have to make the walk of shame back up towards the top lane.
Oh, Torrent?
Nice arrow and Torrent. Zephyr. They're not going to have the damage to capitalize. He'll be fine.
They still managed to get the stacks out, so at the least they weren't contested building up this triangle set of stacks. T1 should be aware. They did get vision out, so they might be able to swing around there with the Lina, steal some of that farm away that Fearless desperately needs to catch up in his mid. He's really lagging behind. Carl halfway to 6. If that 6 timing is a bit earlier, Laguna flies through, one easy rotation from Zephyr. That's going to be a relatively easy kill to take.
Always like to point this out as well, John, but Fearless has got those waterlogged boots from... What was the event? Aghanim's Labyrinth, right? Like the whole race thing that they had going.
Alright.
It's got that, the Kunkka boots going. It's quite nice to have those up. I mean, you're like one of the only people in the world that has them. I think there was only a few given out. So there you go.
Yeah. He got it as a gift as well. So good on him having good friends. See?
A gift?
See? When you have friends, Mike, Yeah.
Well, he didn't earn it, John. He doesn't deserve it then.
Uh,
My goodness.
no need to throw Fearless under the bus.
Well,
He's
he
been
didn't earn
brave
it.
recently.
He didn't earn it, John. That was
Yeah,
a
but
hard
he's
challenge.
fearless enough to wear it.
True.
He's fearless enough to wear it. You know.
Zephyr. He's quite fearless himself. He's going to be X'd up here by Fearless himself as the arrow does come in, does land perfectly from Q. Light Strike Array, though, it's going to buy a bit of time for Zephyr, but now Masaros even shows up. That'll be your first blood out. Set Zero the one to take it of all people, but they'll find a secondary kill onto Whitemon. Q will take that kill. Nice rotations in from Motivate.Trust, and I honestly didn't think that they would try to abuse the nighttime this early on, but Masaros, he's been very active. They're onto Carl now. Torrent does land, and they'll get another kill. Though a nice Light Strike Array, but it's only Zephyr there to capitalize. And this is really something you don't see so often anymore.
This is exactly how they need to play, though. They understand they've got this earlier spike on Motivate.Trust's side. They just run down while they can, get as many kills as possible. I think the beautiful thing about this is that you're not worried about a Monkey King farming way too fast. Just because, again, Battle Fury is not the thing anymore for Monkey King. The Ags Rush feels subpar nowadays, because you can't really use that in Roshan. So you don't really worry about a Monkey King free farming, and you just get more space to recover in that one lane that fell apart. You're just getting a lot. And because the support rotations are towards mid, Toy still has a free lane down bot versus Cuckoo. Your Gyrocopter still has a great time. So all this movement is really starting to force some awkward responses from T1.
Oh, and I believe Toy's gone for the stats build as well, John. Finally. After all these days of asking for this stats build on the Gyrocopter, it looks like he has decided to go for it. Just 1 point in homing missile, max flat cannon, and then all stats. Love to see it.
Yeah. This is the Theory crafting at work. And he's going to be able to flash farm real quick as well. Again, he's uncontested. They've got the stacks that are being cleared out by Fearless, but there's a massive Ancient stack that he could look forward to down the line. And T1 have not been able to contest. They've had information about those stacks for a while. They haven't really been able to contest, and that is a bit of a worrying sign. Again, they can't quite do the same with their Monkey King. You could maybe give it towards the Lina in that case. But, Set Zero.
Mid lane, going to be caught out. Nowhere near level 6 yet, so he's definitely gone. So a little rotation there from Zephyr to ensure they secure the kill. Kind of shocked as well, like Motivate there, just giving the stacks over to Fearless of all people, right? Like it's... The levels are going to be really nice. I suppose the gold influx is just as good, but I thought for sure they were going to give that over to Toy and the Gyro. Though I'm not 100% sure if perhaps the stacks got scouted out, and that's why they're forcing themselves to take it. Or maybe they just feel like Fearless just really needs that early BKB up.
I think they understand that if they are playing this run and gun style, the early BKB is going to have massive impact. So they just want to kind of get these timings onto Fearless. He did have a slower lane as well, so maybe they're just kind of compensating for that. And they understand that he's got a free lane. He doesn't really need these massive stacks to catch up. He is still finding farm solo up against the DK. Cuckoo, I mean, he's got his level 6. He's not really pressuring that tier 1 all too much yet. So the passiveness is paying off for Motivate.Trust in terms of these cores being left alone. Savage, he's still trying to farm it in jungle. He is rushing the Echo Saber first. So he could join in these fights once the Echo Saber is up. Again, Inkswell combination with the Primal Spring is fairly strong. And they can look to play active at that point. I just wonder if it's worthwhile really securing the Monkey King farm while also giving out all this Gyro farm away.
Hard to tell. Only time will tell really if Savage... It's going to pay off. I mean, there's not really much he can do right now anyway. Seems like he does need that initial farm up before he can start really joining his team to get aggressive. Motivate. They'll enjoy the time, however. Boy, going for that Dragon Lance now.
Oh, Savage. They tried.
Yeah.
They're trying. I mean, it is scary, but it's not the most instantaneous stun, so it can be a bit tricky. Especially at nighttime with the phase boots up on Masaros. He is speedy. Good scan out, so that should stop the smoke, but Zephyr?
Yeah, it looks like he should be caught. No, he does get out of range. Instead, they're going to head towards the top lane. There is your ulti from Masaros and Whitemon. He's going to try and immediately TP up, but there's no way he's getting up. They'll give another kill over to the Night Stalker. I mean, props again to Masaros. He had a difficult lane going for him, but he has made this Night Stalker pick look very good. Very impressive stuff.
Yeah, he's just been active since that first night. The rotations to mid paying off. They get this nice push going now on the top lane. Tier 1 tower gone. They are lining up bot with the Dragon Farm and Cuckoo, but he's alone. Even solo, the push will eventually come out, but it's not as fast as you'd want, and they can invade the jungle now. Masaros does not have the ult, so he has to be slightly cautious here.
Primal Spring in, Savage. It's going to be a call down. He will remove himself from that place. And with Laguna is there. Masaros is going to drop, but Toy is still going with the flat cannon. He does at least get Zephyr. Won't have the damage to get anyone else, though. We'll have to back off, but, you know, you come in, you get a support kill. Back to farming for Toy. Happy days.
Yeah, just building up there in terms of net worth. Lagging behind Savage. They have managed to give Savage enough space to really build up. But it does feel like the Gyrocopter is going to hit some nice early spikes. Rushing the Agnums next on Toy. So he's going to have a ton of damage flying through. Great stats to play with, especially with his stat buildup. Again, he's actually going for it. He added +2 again to the stats. So hey, it's in play. He's got a free Possessed Mask, so he's got Lifesteal. What more could you ask for on the Gyrocopter?
I mean, I feel like this is the optimum way to play, to really escalate and farm. Like, this stat build-up just seems so much better than bothering for the Rocket Barrage and the Max Homing Missile. Just get those stats up, do it the old school way. It's already starting to hit very hard with those stats as well, and it's going to be that much more difficult to kill off with the extra HP and armor bonuses. Mid lane, Zephyr, oh, he's a bit off with the shards. X is going to catch him out, but Fearless, he saw a DD rune. He wants that instead, but no, Savage. He's going to cut him off. Gets the Wukong's command down and has the Echo Saber up. The Moonlight Shadow is going to be committed. Fearless, he will be okay. In fact, he'll go for an X back in onto Whitemon. But it's just going to be a taunt. No boat thrown out, no chase. Just a casual torrent. And again, both teams kind of unwilling to fight each other for now. They're going to back off again and get back to that farming game.
Just building up. I think the big timing for T1 is going to be the Blink on Cuckoo. It's almost up, just about 400 gold away. So once you've got that Blink on DK, Blink Inkswell, Dragon Tailed Stun, combination's going to be on hand. You take off some of the pressure on Savage to have to show up for these fights with a Primal Spring. And you can just kind of play there. Still, Zephyr.
Snowball out. Zephyr, he's gone deep. He's set to fall. Want to try and use... I mean, he's buying time. There's no way out, though. He's definitely dying. Savage, he was around, but, you know, he's a Monkey King without Wukong's command right now. There's not really much he can do to help out. So, Savage is going to go ahead and jump in the tree line. Continue working towards that Maelstrom pickup. He's not playing a very early game here, Savage. He is going for that kind of farming build-up on this Monkey King. I wonder if it's going to transition well against this Gyrocopter.
I think it can. It takes a lot more time compared to the Gyro, and the Gyro can always go for more damage. Carl Otto
has been caught out. Boat is there. He gets the Yules off, but I can't see him getting away from this, and he won't. Fearless able to take another kill on the Kunkka. Almost has his full BKB up now on that Kunkka, and I suppose once that's available, you can just keep forcing team fights. Speaking of, T1, they might force one themselves now mid lane. Swell is there. Stun is out from Cuckoo. There's your Boundless Strike as well. Into the Wukong's command. They are right in onto that Kunkka. They'll burst down Fearless. However, you've got Toy trying to fight back. Toy, he's hitting very hard right now. Whitemon and Zephyr both dropped for that. But within the Wukong's command, Savage is king. No stun is there again. Masaros, a fighting shield, going to buy him the time to walk out. Q, he may be left behind and is. Laguna is out from Carla. Now they've got Toy. A 4-for-2 trade. Definitely a very favorable fight here for T1.
Just a bit unfortunate for Motivate. The BKB wasn't up yet on Fearless. They get caught out. They don't manage to really get good spell usage there, and T1 managed to get the punishment. Great Wukong's out from Savage. He understood that with the physical damage coming out from the Gyro, no Rocket Barrage, he can just stand and fight. Lots of bonus armor flying in. Wouldn't melt even with a stat build up. And you get a nice objective on top of it. Tier 1 mid gone. They can invade the triangle, prevent that flash farm from flowing through on the gyrocopter. They do take the slight net worth lead now.
Moonlight Shadow's been popped. Q, can I have a look around, see if you can find anybody? Not gonna be able to quite find anyone right now. Still, they do seem to want to force in that tier 1 mid tower, but I suppose with the BKB up now on Fearless, you should be able to more confidently take it. Still, T1, they are posturing aggressively. Torrent out. Don't do too much to Cuckoo. He'll just keep clearing out the wave. Motivate.Trust, I mean, they're not going to really be able to find what they wanted. Perhaps they could try to make a play onto Carl, but he's right by the tier 2 tower. I mean, there's just no way. Still Motivate. Hanging around in the mid lane as well. Fearless gets an arcane rune. They could try into Cuckoo, but he's just so tanky. Arrow does land, but even with that, they're not confident in being able to get through the HP pool of Davion. Instead, they are staring down Carl at the top lane. Toy has the Ags up now, homing missile, gonna fly out, but Carl does take it down. Still Masteros from the back end wants to try and close Carl off. They're gonna pop the ulti, they're gonna try and make the dive in, and there is gonna be some TPs coming in, but are they there in time? Arrow is gonna cancel the TP, Zephyr gonna try and help Carl, still alive, gets a double line strike array off, and now the Laguna. Masteros is the one to die. Carl, he does eventually tick out of the Spirit Vessel, but now Toy, a bit of a rough position. He's gonna walk his way out. It's Torrent. Not going to be on the mark. Still, they could try and go after Cuckoo with this Spirit Vessel. Soulbind is there from Whitemon with the Inkswell. It's just not going to be enough. Still Savage looking for a way back in. Does get the Boundless onto Q. And they will also get Toy. And Fearless, he does manage to TP out in time, but it's going to be another favorable team fight the way of T1.
The aggression coming out from Motivate.Trust, it's just a bit too deep. They take the fight way too long. They don't manage to kill the Lina immediately. Lots of time wasted there. And T1 managed to get the response they want. They TP in, they get a good Wukongs once more. And Savage just understands. Wukongs will protect him. He doesn't cop that much damage from a gyrocopter without any sort of magical source. Even with his stats, too much armor on the Monkey King in the middle of the Wukongs. And just holds his ground. He doesn't lose out in the game of chicken. Motivate.Trust do still need a little bit more. I think the gyrocopter with Ags is a start. Dragonlance coming out next for Toy. He's going to need something like a Maelstrom or even a Crystallis. Something to really amp up the damage to give him more presence there.
Fearless.
Oh, Cuckoo.
Oh, Cuckoo's there, but the Inkswell was still running on Fearless, so rather on Cuckoo. Either way, they're not going to be able to get the Dragon Tail off. T1.
No.
They're just grouping up in the triangle for now. No rush.
Yeah, they're farming together as a team, slowly building up. They've got the BKB for Carl flying in now. So he's got spell immunity. He's not going to care for the control, not going to care for what the Night Stalker, what Lazarus has been trying to do in getting that silence off. And if you can't silence the Lina, she can keep spamming spells, build up her right clicks with a Fiery Soul, get the burst damage off with Laguna, get the stuns off. Could be a bit scary. T1, they do smoke up with the BKB up. Side of Motivate.Trust did back off at the right time, though.
Now there was vision behind the tier 1 mid tower. They know the smoke happened. Still, they're trying to cut them off, but the Moonlight Shadow's there. Motivate, they might be able to try and turn, but they've got the low ground disadvantage now as the jump in's there. Cuckoo with the Inkswell, not going to be enough. Toy gets out with the Aphonic Shield. Boat is going to fly in as well. Cuckoo, he's taking a lot of damage as Masteros looks to move in. Snowball going to buy Cuckoo a bit of time, but not enough. It is going to end up being a 1-for-1 trade between him and Set Zero. Soulbind is out, but Whitemon looks to be the second casualty of T1. In fact, make it a third. They even tell Zephyr.
For the wings of the night.
Carl?
Big win.
Not over yet. Carl, he still has his BKB. He'll Yule's up. Masteros, not going to be able to force that BKB charge out of Carl. Boundless, they're going to try and turn again. Masteros does get hit by the Light Strike and the Laguna, but now an arrow does land onto Carl and he will drop as a trade. Seems favorable for Motivate.Trust, that one.
Mid laner for off lane. You managed to win out there for Motivate.Trust. At the very least, Savage is still soaking some of that gold up. His BKB is pretty much online. So keeping the Monkey King down is not going to be easy anymore for the side of Motivate.Trust. But all these BKB slowly building up, it could get that. Whoa!
Yeah.
Fearless.
Very, very quick on the torrent. It's got to get the hell out of there. So T1 seemingly want to get aggressive now with their draft.
I don't think that was calculated. I think he was just trying to clear out the creep wave as well. So very fortunate, you know? Like, he was like, I want to clear out these creeps. Then suddenly a Dragonite blinks in with Inkswell. Again, here we go.
Toy. Oh, stun. Inkswell does connect. Balance Strike is there. They've got the Gyrocopter, and they will take him down. He'll drop a cooldown before he does die. Set 0 now. He gets trapped in the shards. He's going to try and TP, and he is going to make it. They won't have a cancellation with any kind of stun. Everything was just on cooldown, but they're going to try and rush a Roshan.
It still goes relatively quick, despite not having the Monkey King Ags, of course. You can still make this work. Tag teams there. Good scan, though. Looks like they might want the pickoffs first.
But T1 seemed to know about it. Savage, he's second guessing that Roshan now. Arrow is going to land on Zephyr, but they'll continue trying to go after it. Stun in,
Zephyr.
Fearless, boat is out, Zephyr's dead. Fearless does manage to pick off the Tusk, and that'll be enough. T1, they will back to safety.
That was unfortunate. The arrow connected, then the Roshan bash came up, and Zephyr was just... He was basically going to die to the Kunkka or the Roshan. Either one. He wasn't going to live through that one. Traumatic for Zephyr. Still, it does happen. Roshan can get pissy. And the side of T1, they could just kind of regroup. Wait for the respawn. Maybe wait for the next Dragon form to be back up for Cuckoo. That should align with a BKB here on Cuckoo. So you've got BKBs on all your cores. They can just stand forward and fight and not care.
Absolutely. And you, Carl, did just pick up a double damage rune, so I think you want to be careful here if you Motivate. They're going to let Set 0 die. They won't try to initiate to try and maybe turn the fight around. I don't know what it is about DD runes this week, John, but I feel like every rune we see is a DD. Carl's got another one. Bottled up on the Lena. Going to move into that triangle now, T1. Oh, Fearless would be a nice target to start on. Inkswell there. BKB has been popped and said Cuckoo going to try and find somebody else, but Fearless is going to try and fight now with the boat to fly out. Masteros, he's in with the crippling fear on the backside. They got Whitemon and Zephyr down. Meanwhile, Savage trying to chase down the Gyrocopter, but he can't keep up with him. They do at least get Masteros, and now they're onto Fearless, but he's a tanky target. Or is he? When you've got Carl with a double damage rune, not quite. He's going to drop Cuckoo. He might do the same. Toy still trying to fight, but the Light Strike Array again from Carl is out onto the Gyrocopter. It's looking like a great team fight once again for T1. They definitely get the better trades. As long as they can get Carl out of here. Pew, he's having a look around to maybe land a nice arrow, but it's like Carl should be just fine.
It's a bit too fast to chase down. Q is not giving up, but yeah, loses the opportunity. Nice win for T1. They managed to really tear apart Motivate.Trust. I think the disarm use on Fearless, he was forced to use it in the Monkey King, but it feels like the Lena's the real one you have to watch out for. Her right-click damage just feels way too scary. A Monkey King is always kind of scary, but the Lena just has that range that you can't compete with, even on the Gyrocopter. So we'll see if they kind of really adjust their strategy with Heaven's Halberd. And the side of T1, 2k lead up on their side. They're Savage and Carl, both on the Lena Monkey King, are ahead in farm now. So they are starting to build up. They're getting the item advantage going. It's the side of Motivate.Trust that's starting to lag a bit behind here.
Cuckoo. Unable to get the stun, but the Boundless Strike is on target. One leap charge is now available, but the Dragon Tail is there in time. On Savage, he even gets the Maelstrom proc on the last hit, just before the stun wore off. And it looks like it's back to the Roshan pit for T1.
They can just get started side of Motivate.Trust without the Mirana. Can't get easy information in there. They could try with a Torrent. Very risky to force the fight. I don't think they're going to be keen on that at all in T1. They do secure that first Aegis. So they've got the second life ready to go. Probably just going to hand it over to Savage. Just have him, be protected. Good dodge as well on Torrent there from Zephyr. And T1, they're in the lead now. 3k up. Again, both of their cores are up there in number 1 as well. Inside of Motivate.Trust, they keep trying to play aggressive. It has started to taper off. They will hit a new item spike here for Toye. He is going Satanic. So he's still about 1,500 gold away. But once you do have the Satanic up on Gyro with the Ags, the beautiful thing is, if you pop that active and you get stunned, your little side gunner will still lifesteal for you. So it should buy Toys some time, right? That's where the value is in the Satanic Rush. Just to stay alive through stuns.
That is very... I mean, I keep forgetting that the Satanic plus the side gunner heals him up. So silly how that works. But it is a thing, that's for sure. And it does great work as well. Like, it could literally just fuel you up to full HP, no problem. Just with the side gunner. No issue whatsoever. T1, bot tier 2 tower is going to drop. Sure, they won't bother trying to force the tier 3 yet. They are pinging it out, but I highly doubt they're going to go down that route yet. Talking almost out an eye of Skadi now for Savage. You may as well just try and finish that off first. It's going to buy Toy the time to have that full Satanic up on the Gyrocopter. And they are going to go back for the tier 2 mid.
Yep, just clearing out the map. Starting to choke out the side of Motivate.Trust. The side of Motivate, Masaros.
Yeah, he's been caught out. Cuckoo is there with the stun and the Ink Swell. They've got the Light Strike Array to follow. Nice pick off. The T1 as they might even go for another. Fearless. The top lane is hiding in the tree line. They're not going to have a guess and see if there is a Kunkka in that tree line. Just rather back off. Still, again, I mean, it's kind of like you've been saying. T1, they definitely feel like they are having a pretty decent advantage now.
Yeah, I think on the side of Motivate.Trust, in order to turn things around, you need more farm in the Gyro. Some source of damage. After the Satanic, you will need maybe Daedalus up. You tend to go Butterfly, but you're already preempted by that by Carl, because he's got the MKB flying in. So he expects the Butterfly eventually from the Gyro, and it's not going to be coming out. Even the evasion here for Fearless is not going to feel great anymore with the MKB up and running. So some source of damage. Maybe just a Divine, actually, at this point, wouldn't be too bad. Like, it's not quite a huge disadvantage you have on Motivate, but you can tell that they're just not quite able to find the angles. T1's just very hard to approach. Every single time you see that Wukong's come out, the Gyrocopter's damage just disappears because of the armor. And T1, they just clear the entire map. All outer towers gone for Motivate.Trust. Satanic up on Toy, but the high ground will begin here for T1.
And that it will. And this tier 3 tower just not going to last very long at this rate. MKB now up and available. Satanic is there for Toy, but he's got no buyback gold at the moment. Arrow is out onto Cuckoo. He's a bit of a tanky target to get started on, though. I mean, easy tier 3, T1. Looks like they aren't interested in continuing. They're happy with the rotations forced out back to the Radiant base. They'll go ahead and fix up the lanes, push out some creep waves, and of course get some tier 3 items.
Yeah.
However,
Build up.
too much shadow. Zephyr. BKB up on the task. He's going to turn around onto Toy. They've got the Gyro, but Masaros, Crippling Fear in the back. 23 Savage, a nice balance strike, and now the Wukong's command, holding them all down. They've got Masaros on the Night Stalker. Toy's trying to get out, but Cuckoo jumps right in, and now with the amount of damage on Carl, he is just going to get bursted down. 23 Savage again with the tips out. There's no buyback on Toy. He's down for a minute.
That's enough time to clear out these sets of racks. Top is going to be shoved in by Savage. They take care of the mid. You might be able to find multiple ones here. Respawns are still short, but it just doesn't feel like you've got the impact and Motivate.Trust. You're so farmed up in T1. Even with this 9k lead, you just managed to do so much more with your heroes. And Motivate.Trust, well, they're going to be down 2 racks now. 2 lanes that they have to watch out for. T1, and they still have Aegis. So if they actually do want to overextend here, they could. They've got at least 20-25 seconds left in that Aegis.
That they do. They're going for the Megas. Hell, I don't know if you even need the Aegis, but they might just give that first life up. Savage, Tidal Wave brings him back. They want to time it right, though. Motivate.Trust, they know. Aegis eventually is going to wear out. And that is some timing. That is some timing right there, ladies and gentlemen. Cuckoo's going to get up, but my goodness. Wymon,
the arrow.
He's caught out. What kind of timing was that?
That was sickening. That was sickening.
I mean,
Savage.
you've got it
in the wrong spot.
You've got to pause after that as well. I mean, Fearless, we know your headphones fine, so you've got to get the quick pause out, give a pat on the back to each other. Really rub it into Savage. Like we just got that. We just got that timing perfect.
That was a great kill. It does stop the mega creeps. It doesn't quite fix the situation of Motivate.Trust. They're still 8k behind. I don't see them taking an objective off the back of that kill. Next, Roshan is still some time off. So all they can do now is keep farming up. Keen to see what comes out next for Toy. He is rushing the BKB now on the Gyrocopter. So he's going very defensive on this build-up. He will be able to stand and fight. The issue is in damage. Damage item has to come out next. We'll have to see what he will opt for after the BKB. For the side of Fearless, AC is still coming in. The shard has been pretty helpful. Like that drag back on Savage, giving him enough range to get the X, to get the follow-up, and to punish him for staying too long with the agent. I literally just said it. He had like 20 seconds. They could choose to overextend, and they actually did choose to overextend. And, well, 20 seconds isn't much time, Mike.
Well, I think Savage wanted he wanted the reset. He wanted them to take his life, but Motivate, they knew. I mean, they waited till that half a second. I think it might have been half a second they got him. Like right after that Aegis expires, mid-air, I think in the torrent they got him. Very, very good timing indeed. So we do have all the reconnects now from T1. We'll see if they are ready to try and get going again, and it looks like Cuckoo is indeed. We'll see Motivate, though. Can they make a comeback now? I mean, the 2 racks is down. They are still very far behind in terms of farm. The Toy, he's about, what 5k behind, 6k behind Carl right now, 5k behind Savage. It's looking pretty rough for this Gyrocopter.
It's not lining up. I think, at this point, I'd say after BKB, go straight up Divine. Right? We've seen games before, maybe months ago now, where you're in this scenario, you're 2 racks behind, 9k behind, your Gyrocopter is still trying to catch up, and then suddenly you get a BKB plus a Divine, you're set. The issue is it's a lot of farm that Toy needs to build up. There's not enough map space to get that securely. He does have some nice big waves, but those are super creeps worth much less than normal creeps, so it's still a slow process for Toy to build into. But eventually, if they manage to stall for that BKB Divine, then yeah, Motivate.Trust can bounce back in. If they can get good hold going as well, play around with the tidal wave, play around with the boat and torrent, and just kite around T1, you can still look for angles to come back in. It's just easier said than done. I think T1, they've got enough gold to really be confident in their lineup, and they're just going to smoke and try again.
Daedalus up now. On Carl, he's really hitting hard at this point. This is when it gets very, very frightening to try and go into this lineup of T1. They want to try and slam the lid shut on this game, and Fearless, he might be the first casualty. He'll try to back off, but Cuckoo, no, he doesn't get the stun off in time. BKB will be forced, however. Tidal wave on Cuckoo, not really going to drag him too much. Just got 1 lane of barracks to go. I mean, it's not much to ask. But you've got to be very wary to not throw your lives away like that again. They might play it very safely and just wait for that next Roshan timing. We are going to find out in about 40 seconds when it is going to be up. It looks like T1 may just do that.
Yeah, and they do have control of the map, so the patience game pays off more for T1 than it does for Motivate.Trust. Creeps are worth more for them. They have the jungle camps to play with. No rush. They can just slowly build up. Maybe look for someone to overextend in lane. Motivate.Trust are the ones that have to play more defensively here. They will go for a Moonlight. Perhaps looking to bait them in a bit, but they were spotted by Ward.
I mean, there's only 1 buyback on the map. No, there's 2 buybacks. You got 1 on the Abaddon as well. They aren't going to jump in. They're just posturing very aggressively here, T1. The Roshan, 47 seconds away, so not too long. They have spotted out Toy, and Savage is making his way over. But they're not going to be able to commit to try and chase down that kill. Just going to hang around the Roshan pit and just control the area.
They're shutting down the triangle, getting their farm up. The side of Motivate, BKB's almost done here on Toy. So again, he can stand in front. He will need damage. Keep reiterating that point, but it just feels like right now he hits like a, what do you call it? A wet tissue? A wet piece of paper? I don't know. I forget my idioms at this point of the night. They've got the AC up on Fearless, so some ways of mitigating the physical damage coming out from Lina and Monkey. It's not quite enough to stop the big crits from really hurting from Carl, but it will keep you alive for a little bit longer, maybe allows you to cast a spell or two more, get the boat off to really survive. And the Roche is up here for T1, so they can kind of access it easier. They've got the wards to watch sneaky plays as well for Motivate. Motivate, they've been really patient. They haven't forced the issue outside. They understand they can't really march out now. They just play the slow game, play this farm. It does look like Toy will opt for the Crystallis instead of the Divine Rapier Rush. Maybe understanding he doesn't have too much time to farm up. And they will actually smoke out here, Motivate.Trust.
But they will. They've got to try and contest this Roshan that has been started now by T1. Be very cautious. Roshan, not the fastest in the world. Well, I say that, Carl, he does get to work now, and it is going down very quick. They won't make it in time. Where did the shards go? It's going to be on Savage. Give it over to the Monkey King. Got that ridiculous tree dance cooldown now. Very nice. Why even give it a cooldown? If it's going to be 0.1 seconds, just no cooldown. Just let him just jump across the map freely.
It's basically zero, right? Considering travel time. So by the time you get to your next tree, it's already off. Oh?
X is
Yeah,
out.
I don't know why they thought.
Neither do I, John. So now you got that secondary life again. Last time around, Motivate.Trust, they timed it perfectly. But this time, it's going to be a few minutes till that expires. So no timing perfectly this time around unless they could really drag out this fight. Cuckoo looking for that perfect initiation. Won't go in yet, but we'll get started on the tier 3 tower. Nice tidal wave back onto Cuckoo. He does throw the stun out into the soulbind now from Whitemon. They just want to try and burst down the racks as soon as possible. They don't even want to try and force the fight. Wukong's command, no, the arrow is there. Q setting up again. There's your crippling fear as well. They've got the Aegis down. They have got the first life. T1, they might have to force a back here. Boundless Strike is out on Toy. He'll BKB up, try to fight. He's got the Satanic to use and he'll pop it. It's just not enough. There is no healing out. Onto the bot racks they go. Set Zero's down on the Abaddon. And they will get the final lane of barracks. And there you go. GG well played. They call it. Motivate.Trust will be eliminated from the Loopet Pro Series Season 7. T1, they will proceed through to day number 4 of the lower bracket.
Yeah, they play spectacularly well on T1's end. A lot of back and forth. Very close matches between Motivate.Trust and T1. And we always talk about this with the two teams. They have a lot of history. You know, they love talking back and forth. They're pretty close friends, I'd say, all the way back since Team Among Us. We saw that with Cuckoo and Whitemon and Savage. So a really close fight between brothers in arms. Unfortunately, unfortunate for Motivate.Trust, they do fall short. They were playing with a stand-in, but I don't think Toy underperformed at all. I think he performed right about the level that you'd expect for a Pause 1. He did play really well with Motivate.Trust. They were working together as a team well. So I don't think that was a massive impact. T1, they played outstandingly well. A lot of back and forth. They managed to hold out. They give Savage these heroes that he could just build up his win condition on. Carl had spectacular performances on mid as well. And Cuckoo just manages to set that pace every time. On his off-lane heroes, he's always making a place. He's willing to throw his body forward. We saw that especially in game number 2, where he was just willing to die for his team. And it always pays off. In T1, they get to move on. The defending champs are out early, but it's the Loot Bet Pro Series. You know, it is a bloodbath here.
Oh, it certainly is, John. It's been a fantastic day of games as well. We've had 3 best of 3s, all going to 3 games. First series was pretty darn fantastic between exit. Have we got an interview, by the way, just before I keep talking?
I am checking with Dougie.
Okay.
He has given us a shrug. I have no clue. I can
Excellent.
ask Savage, I guess.
I mean, look, It's fine. Execration versus SMG earlier on. SMG taking that 2-1 victory was a very splendid performance from them. And, of course, this series here, 2-1 for T1. Motivate.Trust trying their best, but not able to get through it. It looks like it might be. I mean, we might have to call it if it drags out too much here. I mean, we don't know how long we can wait.
We're waiting for a reply.
Oh.
Messages have been sent, so we can just sit here and talk about it. But more, of course, we've got more matchups coming up here on the LootBet Pro Series 7. Fnatic versus GXR in the upper bracket final, and, well, the winners from last time going up into the lower bracket as well, as Mike mentioned. And that will be tomorrow, and that will be Aries and Black, I believe, coming over to take over the stream. We'll be on a day off. We'll be watching with all of you. We'll be back the day after. But we get to enjoy a bit of a break and enjoy the games as spectators. It's very different, right? When you're watching the game versus just casting the game, there's a different level of enjoyment. Of course, we'd prefer to be on the desk, but watching is fairly relaxing as well.
Have you tried casting with you, John? I'd prefer to just sit back and watch Aries and Black, quite frankly.
I've had, well, you know, every time I cast, it's with me. So I have to deal with it as well. Like,
you know, people actually get upset when I make jokes about you. Do you have these?
Wow.
You have these fanboys in chat, and they will defend you to the death. I make one joke, clearly a joke, and I see people immediately jumping in, like, "Oh my god, MLP is such a terrible person. I can't tell if he actually hates John." Like, come on, we've been working together for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate him. You're not wrong. I do hate John. But that's besides. I'm still joking.
I mean, we've been together as long as you've been married as well. You know, as I like to point out, we've been basically your second marriage. Wait, really? Before you were married? I thought you were already married when we met.
No, just before I got married. You're actually my first marriage. Before my wife. She doesn't know that. Hopefully, she hasn't heard what I just said. But you are the first.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Did you check the door? Do you think she's up there again?
I don't think so. I think I'm safe. John.
All right.
It looks like.
Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, it looks like we have. Oh no. Savage is saying they're talking the team now. We can message March. I don't have March as a friend, Savage. You don't have to hurt me.
It's fine. Look, we'll tell you what. If they win tomorrow or they win the next day, they can get their interview. We've waited long enough. These guys qualified at TI and they think they can have us waiting. How dare they? Why don't we have much, by the way? We don't have much added on our friends list, John. We were such good friends as well. Can you believe that?
It's been, you know, since he was in TNC, we were always talking. He never accepted my request. I feel hurt till this day. If March, if you're watching, I'm hurt, my best friend. You hurt me.
Very, very shameful from March.
I'm not going to give him mangoes.
No mangoes for Mango March. With that, John, we're going to have to call it. It is getting late at night. We can't wait too much longer. It is MLP on johnxfire. Enjoy the games tomorrow. Of course, we'll be back later on, but enjoy Aries and Black tomorrow. And as always, it's been an absolute pleasure casting for you all. We'll see you then.